So the summary of body fluid and circulation, body fluid and blood circulation. So vertebrates circulate blood, a fluid connected tissue in their body, okay, to transport essential substances to the cells and to carry waste substances from there. So this is what blood does. It is a fluid connected tissue. It is specialized connected tissue, right? The another fluid, that is lymph. It is tissue fluid. So tissue fluid means it is created by the tissues. Tissues are group of cells, so there is intercellular space, so some fluid left behind them, so it makes the tissue fluid. Now this is lymph, is also used for the transport of certain substances. So blood and lymph, that is tissue fluid, these are the body fluids, right? Now blood comprises of a fluid matrix, plasma and form elements. Now blood comprises of fluid matrix, that is plasma, and then form elements, okay. Now red blood cells, that is RBCs, erythrocytes, white blood cells, that is WBCs and leukocytes, and platelets, that is thrombocytes, constitute the form elements. So red blood cells, RBCs, erythrocytes, and white blood cells, WBCs, leukocytes, and platelets, thrombocytes, these constitute the form elements. That is 45% of total blood. Now 55% of total blood constitutes the made by the plasma. Now blood of humans are grouped into A, B, AB and O systems based on the presence of or absence of two surface antigens, A and B on the RBCs. So A and B on the RBC antigens, A and B on the RBC. Now another blood grouping is also done based on the presence or absence of another antigen called rhesus factor, that is Rh, on the surface of RBCs. Now the spaces between cells in the tissues contain a fluid derived from blood called tissue fluid. So this tissue fluid is also derived from blood, right? Now this fluid called lymph is almost similar to blood except for the protein content and the form elements. So it has different content of protein, and the content is different, minimum, you can say. So the protein content and the form element, okay, except for the protein content and the form element not present in the tissue fluid, but it is present in the blood. Now all vertebrates and a few invertebrates have a closed circulatory system. All vertebrates and a few invertebrates have a closed circulatory system. So examples are of few invertebrates in which you can say, like, so there is in few vertebrates you can see the annelids, right? So they have the closed circulatory system. So our circulatory system consists of a muscular pumping organ, that is heart, and network of vessels and a fluid, that is blood. Now heart has two atria and two ventricles. Now cardiac musculature is autoexcitable. Sinoatrial node SAN generates the maximum number of action potentials per minute, that is 70 to 75% per minute, and therefore it sets the space of the activities of the heart. So therefore it sets the space of the activities of the heart, hence it is called the pacemaker, right? Why it is called the pacemaker? Because it sets the space of the activities of the heart, that is it generates the maximum number of action potential, that is per minute, that is 70 to 75% per minute. So the action potential causes the atria and then the ventricles to undergo contraction, that is systole, followed by their relaxation, that is diastole. So followed by their relaxation, that is diastole. Now the systole forces the blood to move from the atria to the ventricles and to the pulmonary artery and the aorta, right? So the next thing is the cardiac cycle is formed by sequential events in the heart, which is cyclically repeated and is called the cardiac cycle. So the cardiac cycle is formed by the sequential events in the heart, which is cyclically repeated and is called the cardiac cycle. A healthy person shows 75 such cycles per minute. About 70 ml of blood is pumped out by each ventricle during a cardiac cycle, and it is called the stroke or beat volume. So about 70%. about 70 ml of blood is pumped out by each ventricle during a cardiac cycle, and it is called the stroke or beat volume. Now, volume of blood pumped out by each ventricle of heart per minute is called the cardiac output, and it is equal to the product of stroke volume and heart rate, and it comes out to be approximately 5 liters, right? I repeat it again. Volume of blood pumped out by each ventricle of heart per minute is called the cardiac output, and this cardiac output is equal to the product of stroke volume and heart rate, approximately 5 liters. The electrical activity of heart can be recorded from the body surface by using electrocardiograph, and the recording is called the electrocardiogram ECG, which is of clinical importance. So by using electrocardiograph, so electrocardiograph, it is a machine, and the recording is electrocardiogram, that is ECG. Electrocardiograph is a machine, and electrocardiogram ECG is a it is a recording. So recording is called the electrocardiogram ECG, which is of clinical importance. Now we have complete double circulation, right? That is two circulatory pathways, namely pulmonary and systematic. So systematic is for oxygenated blood, and pulmonary, as you can say, it contains the deoxygenated blood. Okay, and then the pulmonary circulation starts by the pumping of deoxygenated blood from by the right ventricle. Okay, the pulmonary circulation starts by the pumping of deoxygenated blood by the right ventricle, which is carried to the lungs, where it is oxygenated and returned to the left atrium. The systemic circulation starts with the pumping of oxygenated blood by the left ventricle to the aorta, which is carried to all the body tissues, and deoxygenated blood from there is collected by the veins and returned to the right atrium. Though the heart is autoexcitable, its function can be moderated by neural and hormonal mechanism. Even though the heart is autoexcitable, its function can be moderated by the neural, that is CNS, PNS, autonomic nervous system. So they can control it, and the hormonal mechanism. Okay, and I said pulmonary and systemic circulation. So pulmonary contains both oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, and systematic contains both oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, right? So this was a summary. Now we are studying the exercises. Now name the components of the form elements in the blood and mention one major function of each of them. So RBCs, WBCs, right, that is leukocytes, then platelets, that is thrombocytes, and just like WBCs, in which the lymphocytes, they for the defense mechanism, right? They produce the antibodies, right? Now they are 20 to 25%. So monocytes, they act as phagocytic cells, right? So this is it. Now what is the importance of plasma proteins? So plasma proteins is required in like fibrinogens. There are albumins, then there are globulins. So globulin is for the defense mechanism, albulins is for the osmoregulation, okay, control, and then the fibrinogen is for the clotting factor. So this is it. So they are very important, right, plasma proteins. Now match the column. So eosinophils, RBC, AB group, platelets, and systole. So eosinophils, these are, so eosinophils, they resist infection, so and they resist the infection, right? And RBC, like RBC is the gas transport, oxyhemoglobin and carbaminohemoglobin, right? Then AB group, it is universal recipient. Platelets, these are useful in the coagulation, and systole, that is contraction of heart. So this is, and diastole is relaxation of heart. Now why do we consider blood as a connective tissue? Because it connects all the body function through the blood transport protein, that is hemoglobin. So why do you consider blood as a connective tissue? It is specialized connective tissue. Now, what is the difference between lymph and the blood? So lymph contains tissue fluid that has the less content of proteins and formed elements, while in blood it has form elements and plasma, the blood that it contains, and they are the proteins, fibrinogens, albumins, and then globulins. So all these the proteins are present. So what is mean by double circulation and what is its significance? So double circulation is we have the two paths, that is pulmonary circulation and systematic circulation. Okay, what is its significance? It precisely regulate the process. Okay, now what the difference is between blood and lymph? As I told you, blood contains proteins and form elements, while lymph contains less protein and content, right? Open and closed system of circulation. Open and closed system of circulation, right? Open means like if you are talking about the amphibians, right, there is one ventricle, so from right atrium and left atrium the blood gets mixed into the one common ventricle. So this is the open circulation, like absence of the vessels or arteries, veins and all that. So closed system of circulation, they are like closed circulatory system, they are like, I think open circulatory system shown in the fishes only, right? So the blood is oxygenated by gills and then uh, travel through the body, and then they deoxygenated and sent to the gills to get oxygenated. So open type of in them. And closed system of circulation involves like three chambered, then four chambers. So these are the closed chamber type of circulation. Now systole and diastole. So systole, that is a contraction. Systole and diastole. So systole is for the contraction. Systole is for the like contraction, and diastole is for the relaxation, right? Now P wave. So systole, another word is like depolarization, and repolarization, that is the diastole. Okay, just remember the term, a bit confusing. So P wave and T wave, we know P, Q, R, S or T. P wave, that is there is the like depolarization of first atria, and then QRS in which of QRS QRS in which like depolarization of ventricle. No, depolarization of ventricle, that is systole, ventricular systoles, right? Ventricular systole. Then PQRST and T is the relaxation of ventricles. So okay, so describe the evolutionary change in the pattern of heart among the vertebrates. So evolutionary change in the pattern of heart among the vertebrates, there were first fishes had two chamber, that is open type of circulatory system, then amphibians, then reptiles and all that, and then amphibians, reptiles, and then birds, and then mammalia, that is four chambered, then crocodile also four chambered. So describe the evolutionary change in the pattern of the heart among the vertebrates. So why do we call our heart myogenic? So sinoatrial node is called the spacemaker of. So sinoatrial is called the spacemaker of our heart. Why? Because it has a maximum potential. So sinoatrial node is called the spacemaker of our heart. So describe the so sinoatrial node is called the pacemaker of our heart. Why? So what is the significance of atrioventricular node and atrioventricular bundle in the function of heart? So what is the significance of atrioventricular node? And atrioventricular bundle in the function of heart. So atrioventricular node and atrioventricular bundle in the function of heart. So atrioventricular bundle node, it from the AC node, it the impulses gets transferred to the atrioventricular node, and from the atrioventricular node through the atrioventricular bundle, it spreads over the through this Purkinje fiber over the entire ventricular musculature. So this is what it is maybe. So define a cardiac cycle and the cardiac output. So cardiac cycle, it is a sequential events that has the contraction and relaxation of atria and ventriculars. And the cardiac output, it is like the 70 ml of blood pumped out by each ventricle. Okay. So multiplied by like heartbeat. So this is the cardiac output. It is approximately 5 liter in humans. Like, explain the heart sounds. Love and dove. Love for the closure of, so all the heart sounds is due to the closure. Okay, so the heart sounds like love is for the like closure of tricuspid and bicuspid wall, and then love and dove is for like semilunar walls. Draw standard ECG and explain the different segments in it. So draw standard ECG, that is electrocardiogram and electrocardiogram. So electrocardiograph, it is a machine, and recording is the electrocardiogram, that is the recording. So explain the different segments in it. So PQRST is for ventricular diastole, ventricular systole, and PQRS is for like atrial systole, and T is for like ventricular no P is for atrial systole, and QRS for ventricular systole, and T is for ventricular diastole. So this is it. So this is how your chapter is done, the body fluids and circulation, right?